Welcome back, guys. So I just did my game week 1 prediction, and the only thing obviously that can accompany that is what? FPL game week 1 review. So I'm gonna break this into 3 videos. The first one is gonna be about strikers, right? Because it's a lot. So I'm gonna do this first video on strikers. Without further ado, let's get into it. Remember, guys, to like, share, and subscribe. So obviously, guys, Erling Haaland has to be in your team, right? I know it costs £15.5 million. But listen, if you don't pick Haaland, I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't even matter what fixtures he has. But he does have favorable fixtures. Bournemouth, Palace, Coventry, newly promoted, Manchester United with they have defensive issues. Sunderland, listen man. He's gonna score maybe 2 goals in at least a couple of these matches, right? I mean, this is something that Haaland does every single season. You can't go wrong for 15.5. I know it's a lot of money, but especially with no Salah right now in the league, yeah, man, you have to pick Haaland. He's your go-getter. And would I captain him the first week? No. Actually, Haaland is not my game week 1 captain, but I'll get into that, right? Next up, we actually have Igor Thiago. No, not a huge fan of this guy. I think he's a penalty merchant. But guess what? He does have favorable fixtures. He has Spurs, Leeds, Sunderland, Bournemouth, Chelsea. Couple of favorable fixtures in there. Listen, Brentford play a certain way. They play to Thiago's strength. And I do believe this is a good pick. I do believe he's a good pick. Not gonna be in my team though. The striker I'm gonna go for next is actually Joe Pedro. So Joe Pedro fixtures, he has Fulham, Brighton, has a very tough match against Arsenal, Hull, and Brentford. Listen, man, I think Joe Pedro is gonna have another excellent season. Especially with the way Xabi Alonso plays. He's gonna be in my team. It's a toss-up because I could see myself dropping out Joe Pedro for a striker that's gonna be coming up. But let's see. But he does have good fixtures. You can't go wrong with picking Joe Pedro. Oli Watkins also has some good fixtures, but Oli Watkins is one of those strikers that can go hot or cold, right? He can go missing in some matches. Brighton, Arsenal, Hull, Forest, Spurs. I don't think I'd go with Watkins in this first 5 game weeks. I think Brighton is a tough match. I think Arsenal is a tough match. Hull, he'll do well against. Forest, he'll probably do well against. But then I have another tough match against Tottenham. I want to go with Oli Watkins in this game week. That's just my opinion. Obviously, yeah, you have Calvert-Lewin. Forest, Brentford, Brighton, Newcastle, Palace. Not bad, but Leeds, I don't know, man. Calvert-Lewin is one of those strikers that'll get you maybe 10 to 12 goals per season, but you don't know what games he's going to get you those 10 to 12 goals. I wouldn't touch Calvert-Lewin with a 10-foot pole, man. He's not going to be in my team. But for £6, that's not bad. That's not bad, I guess, for a striker that can chip in, especially if you're going to be investing in midfield, Yeah, I guess that could work. Next up, you have Gyökeres, right? Arsenal actually has some very tough opening fixtures. Coventry is, that's going to be, I predicted a 4-0 victory for Arsenal there. But then they have Villa and Chelsea after that, man. Then they have Sunderland away, and then they have Brighton away. Listen, Sunderland away and Brighton away are not easy matches. Villa away as well. Chelsea at home, I do think Arsenal will beat Chelsea at home. Sir Gyökeres is good for that first match, but after that, man, you're into problem, and you already have to make a transfer that, second week. So maybe, you could bring in Gyökeres 1 week and then transfer him the next week, if you're into that sort of thing. I guess that could work, right? Next up, I'm going to be skipping some names here. Let's see. Where is he? Isak, right? Isak, I think, is one that we also have to look at, right? So let's look at Isak. Very, very favorable fixtures here. Newcastle, Forest, Ipswich, Fulham, and Bournemouth. I think these are very favorable fixtures for Liverpool. Obviously, none of these matches are easy. Newcastle away is not easy. But, Bournemouth at home, will not be easy. But I do think that Isak can definitely get some goals in these opening matches, he's gonna beat my team. So Haaland and Isak shoe in for my team. I think the third striker I'd probably go for would be Joe Pedro. 7.5 is very good for me. That's very good value for money. Obviously, could if you want to go Gyökeres for this game week for Coventry, you could do that and then bring in Joe Pedro next week. You know, it's really up to you. Let's see who else you know could be worth a shout here. Beto from Everton, you know, decent striker, but not the best opening fixtures. Palace, Bournemouth, Manchester United, Tottenham, Ipswich. I wouldn't go with Beto either. You know, probably around game week 5. You know, it does have Hull, Ipswich and Hull, but yeah, I wouldn't go with Beto. Walter Made for 6. Yeah, man, tough opening fixtures here for Newcastle. Liverpool first, Tottenham, Bournemouth, Leeds. The only easy-ish match here is actually like, you know, Hull City. So I wouldn't go with Walter Made either. So my top 5 picks, once again, guys, I would go with Haaland for sure. Haaland is definitely going to be making my team. Right, so let me just add Haaland. I'm definitely going to be adding Isak to my team as well. I think if he stays fit, he'll have a good team, good season. And I'm going to just go ahead and restore Joe Pedro, right? I think those are my top 3 strikers that I'm going to go with for the opening game week. Let me know what you guys think, man. Let me know what you guys think. You know, what are some of the strikers that you're going to go for? You know, are you going to go for Gyökeres for that first game week and then transfer him out? Because I do think, you know, Arsenal do, you know, they do have some tough fixtures. So who are you gonna go for? I mean, Evan Niels is there too. That's another good show. You know, it's really tough. It's really gonna be competitive in these first 5 game weeks. But like I said, man, for me, you definitely need Haaland. I'd go for Isak. I'd go for Joe Pedro. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Thank you guys for tuning in, and look out for the midfielders that will be up either later today or tomorrow as the EPL draws near. Thanks for tuning in, guys.